Everybody, Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. Happy Thursday. Hurling down to the end of the week. Almost done another week, my friends. Almost done another week. And almost on our first week of the international break. Well done. We're halfway through it. Although this weekend, we've got you covered Saturday and Sunday. That's all I'm saying. Saturday and Sunday, we've got you covered. Book a half an hour slot on Saturday, half an hour slot on Sunday. I promise you it's going to be worth it. I promise you. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any content we have that coming out, particularly this weekend. Just saying. Also, other stuff. Tonight, we have got the Have Your West Ham View boys back. They're back after a 1 week hiatus. They're back talking about West Ham, internationals, all that type of stuff. That'll be live tonight at 9 o'clock. Check that out. And then tomorrow we'll have all the usual fun of the fair, and we'll have a live sort of chat show on the lunchtime lives, and then we probably will have Irish Tommy maybe on Friday night potentially, and then obviously Saturday, Sunday, all about Saturday, Sunday. Actually, but England play tomorrow as well. I have to watch that in case Jared Bowen is selected. But there's been some crazy stories that have happened in the last 24 hours. So we're going to go through them all. We're going to talk about some sort of more grown-up stuff, and then we're going to talk about some crazy stories that have happened or have been spoken about. Let's start about the sensible. Let's get the sensible stuff out of the way, the important stuff potentially. And firstly, in terms of the Paqueta hearing. Now, we know that obviously everything that's been going on with Lucas, but there's been a major update in his situation in terms of the West Ham Brazilian Magnifico has spoken to the FA. It's not lost on, obviously we know everything. If you go back and look at the sort of the timeline in the summer, he was all but due to go to Man City. Then it all sort of broke down when the allegations over illegal betting, which Paqueta, fiercely denies, emerged. And then that move collapsed. And to be honest, much to the like the West Ham fans, in all honesty. And to be honest, this side, I mean, when we talk, I always dropped to we're gonna interview who the interviews over the weekend. But when we talk about that particular player, he said best player outside the top six, bar far, if not one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment. And he's really found his feet this season. Now, he found it towards the end of last season, but he's just on another level at the moment. And the fact, even when Liverpool fans were giving him a standing ovation off the pitch, that's mental. But, they've underlined his professionalism. Some of the players, if moves haven't worked out for them, are down tools. He has picked up more tools, if that makes sense. But according to Sean Wheatston, he revealed that Paqueta has already spoken to the FA, and he's already been interviewed by the FA over their inquiry, with another meeting on the cards in the next couple of weeks. Sean said he's already been interviewed. He's due to speak with them again in a few weeks' time. The Brazilian completely protests his innocence and says he has no connection of knowledge of the alleged offences. We know that the club have been very, very with him. Obviously supportive of him through this time, and so is Moisey and the teammates, and obviously the fan base as well. We've given him our full backing in light of the allegations, but it can't be said about his home country. Last month, a prominent Brazilian senator said he wanted the Brazilian star banned for life if found guilty, and he has been omitted from the last two Brazilian national squads. He's been excluded from selection for both. So, which is not good for him personally, but obviously for West Ham, it's great because, he doesn't have to fly halfway across the world. He can just stay at Rush Green. But we'll see what happens there. As I said, there's plenty more twists and turns in that story, I think, and there will be, as I said, further meetings with Paqueta and the FA, but he's had his first meeting thing. I don't know what else you can say about that, really. Let's talk about contracts. Obviously, we know that Mr. Bowen has signed a lovely 7-year contract, which he himself says he wants to see the rest of his career out of West Ham. That's apparently had a massive effect, a knock-on effect on the squad and the club in terms of moving and securing others to maybe potential long-term deals As I said, he's more than happy to. He said he wants to spend the rest of his career at East London, and West Ham are now trying to secure more players to longer-term deals. X took to his podcast and said that he confirmed what we said. Bowen would be the highest earner at the club, with bonuses included, and the deal keeps him within the structure of the wage structure as well. Not only are we haven't smashed our wage structure to keep Jared. He's sort of at the top end, so he's on I think, slightly more than 125 grand a week, I think, roughly. And that is within our wage structure, which is good news, because obviously the worst thing you want to do is, I'm sure the likes of Zuma and stuff will have it into their contracts that they would be one of the top earners of the club anyway. So he says that's been done now, and now the club are turning their attentions to others. Now, there was reports about Kurt Zuma, but apparently those have been dispelled. But I mean, X mentioned that he was one of the players they were looking at. But the main one is the person from my first story, Lucas Paqueta. Obviously, we know there is a £85 million buyout clause in his contract, which comes into effect in the summer. And the club obviously recognise the influence and importance he has on the team, not just that, but the fan base as well. And they're hopeful to reach a better deal potentially with him. I think once the outcome of the hearing and the investigation happens, then I think that's full steam ahead. West Ham apparently, according to X, are looking at the Paqueta deal and will try and negotiate a fresh deal, which will hopefully eliminate the £85 million release clause, which would be fantastic news. Another player the club are looking to offer a new deal to is Divine Mbama, who we know is one for the future. Obviously, he's been around the first team and he starts to make further steps, but obviously can't break into that first team at the moment. And so they're looking at giving him a improved deal. Obviously, last week he dropped down to the 18s. I think he scored at the 18s as well. And I think, to be honest, if you're not going to play him, keep him moving, keep him scoring goals. And whether it means in January going out on loan, I think actually that wouldn't be a bad thing. You see the effect Freddie Potts is having. He's having rave reviews from Wickham at the moment, and that's exactly what you want. You want a player playing good football, regular football, and being, a star in that team. And then obviously it's just all experience. And I don't think Mbama is having that experience, the same experience, which is slightly, curtailing his development at the moment. And it's a fine balancing act, as we know. In terms of those unlikely to be offered a new deal, we've spoken about Pablo Fornals. You spoke yesterday. His contract runs out in the summer, and the likelihood is we probably will. I won't be surprised if he doesn't. If he does go, I will be surprised if he doesn't go in January. For a nominal fee to a club rather than going for nothing in June, for example. Angelo Bono is unlikely to be offered a new deal. He's obviously on a one-year deal at the moment that runs out in the summer. And Lucas Fabianski, with decisions apparently going to be made in all three later in the season, although Fornals has already rejected the offer of a contract, according to Sean Wheatstone a month or so ago. So we'll see what happens. I will be surprised if Angelo and Fabianski sign a new deal, because I think Angelo, now, it's in the terms of the way the club's going, in terms of the recruitment, we are definitely looking at bringing in more centre halves as well. We'll be looking at the Wigan centre half, the young 19-year-old centre half. Obviously, Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen, obviously left back, but can play left side as well. So I think Oki's days are a bit numbered, actually, and I don't think he'll be offered a new deal. Same with Aaron Cresswell as well. So there'll be a little bit of change in the summer for sure, which is well needed, I think, just to freshen up the squad. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of Fabianski, and this is the first silly story that'd be silly, but it's the first random story that's come out. Reports today suggest that West Ham are looking to bring in Man United keeper David De Gea on a potential 18-month deal in January. Okay, let's just unpack this a little bit. So several news outlets are reporting this. He's been without a club, and we know he was in Manchester watching the Man United women's match the weekend. But apparently, they have the former the former Man United goalkeeper's representative have contacted West Ham about the possibility of signing him in January for an 18-month deal. He was released by Man United in July, but there's been no inquiries. He hasn't signed for a club, and he's currently ready to consider any options that will make him basically get him back into football. Now, United made an offer for him, but then withdrew him, leaving him basically to face life as a free agent. But several sources, including Football Transfers, claims the Hammers are ready to offer him a deal. I think it's a bit of a tricky one, to be honest. I can't see how it all works because Alphonse Areola is been in fantastic form and has only just been made number one. I wouldn't think David De Gea would want to come in and be number two to Alphonse Areola, and I think it'd piss off Areola as well because he's been playing very, very well. Fabianski, I mean, as I said, he's likely to move on in the summer. So, despite the fact actually wanting an 8-year deal, if you watch the Channel Plus interview he did recently on the back of Jared's 7-year deal, he said, "Oh, I can do 8 if you want," which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, I think this is a bit of silly season story starting already. Another silly season story potentially is this man who's just retired, Eden Hazard. But according to an interview that Kevin Nolan gave on Talk Sport, he would like to hand him a trial at West Ham. He would like to make a U-turn and offer a trial at West Ham to get him back into football. As you know, Hazard is only 32, and by all accounts, listen to it, fell out of love of the game, left Real Madrid at the end of the season without signing for a new club, and obviously there was talk of going to some place, including back to Chelsea potentially, but none of that came to fruition. And decided to formally retire this week. He may have struggled for fitness and form over the last couple of years, but Kevin Nolan feels he still has the ability to compete at the highest level and would love to take him on trial. He says he reckons it'll be tempted to come out of retirement at some point in the coming months, given that he doesn't even turn 33 until January. He said on TalkSport, "I've heard I'd have the Chelsea. So I'd have the Hazard of Chelsea at West Ham. I'm sure if he wanted to come and trial, I mean me, I'd certainly be willing to do that. I don't know about the gaffer, but I would certainly want to give him a trial. Some of the best years in the Premier League he's been part of, and some of the best goals. It's sad that 32 he decides to bow out, in all honesty, because I believe someone of his caliber could play at the top level for many years to come. I'd be surprised if we got wouldn't be surprised if we got a bit of revenge on that in the next 6 months to a year. I just think at 32, he's just put out, he's retired. There's been so many times. I remember when Paul Scholes did it, then he got a call from St. Alex and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll come back." So I think that will happen with Hazard because someone will be willing to give him the opportunity to say, "Go on, come in and play for us for 6 months." Speaking of someone who, he was 31. He's 31 at the moment. The player we interviewed for this weekend, he came to the club at 31-ish. Just leaving it out there. And and was a cult hero. So there we go. Just talk sport in it. Just talk sport. But could you imagine, particularly of everything we had with Lingard and the trial saga, though he did actually score for El Fatihad on a friendly the weekend. So it seems like Steven Gerrard is going to be signing him shortly. So maybe Eden Hazard could be our new trialist. Who knows? Oh, just crazy world of West Ham. So much for the Red Bull model. I'm just thinking about the people. So much for the Red Bull model. It's just news and we report it, or stories and report. Whether it's news or not is another question. Keep an eye on the channel. As I said, we've got loads of stuff coming up tonight. We've got the Have Your West Ham View boys talking about the last couple of games. They'll be talking about the international breaks. Yeah, lovely blokes. A couple of brothers. Maybe get their sister along as well. It's a family affair. And then tomorrow we'll have the live show in the lunchtime. And then this weekend we have you covered. Just now, put it into your diary. Saturday, half an hour in the evening, probably about mid. I don't know what time we'll put it out. Maybe sort of late afternoon, half an hour. And then Sunday, half an hour. We'll have you sorted. Or watch them back to back. Who knows? Anyway, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Keep the faith, my friends. And come on, you bloody Irons. Irons.